Welcome to our ethanol fermentation experiment, where we explore the fascinating world of bioethanol production using Saccharomyces Cerevisiae. Introducing my talented team in making this experiment possible. Firstly, sterile equipment is essential for maintaining the integrity of any scientific experiment. By sterilizing tools and materials, we eliminate microorganisms that could contaminate our samples, ensuring accurate and reliable results. Next is mixing the culture. Gently swirl the flask or use a sterile pipette to ensure the microorganisms are evenly suspended. Avoid shaking too vigorously as it could damage the cells or introduce bubbles. Let's move on to the next part, where we measure dry cell weight in batch ethanol fermentation by Saccharomyces cerevisiae. This procedure is designed to quantify yeast growth over time by determining the dry cell weight at various stages. To begin with, we started with an empty clean centrifuge tube. Using a precision balance, measure and record the weight of the empty tube. This initial weight is critical for our later calculations. Next, we collect 10 ml of the fermentation broth by using a sterile pipette. Then, we transfer the sample into the pre-weighed centrifuge tube. Once the sample is in the tube, we place it in the centrifuge. We set the centrifuge speed between 2000 to 4000 times gravity for 10 minutes. After centrifugation, carefully remove the tube without disturbing the cell pellet. Gently discard the supernatant, which is the liquid portion above the pellet. Be cautious not to disturb or remove any part of the cell pellet during this process. Once the supernatant is removed, we proceed with drying, where we place the centrifuge tube in an oven. We set the oven to 90 degrees Celsius and leave the tube for approximately 24 hours. After drying, remove the tube from the oven and allow it to cool to room temperature. Measure and record the weight of the tube with the dry cell pellet inside. This final weight represents the combined mass of the empty tube and the dry yeast cells. And lastly, to determine the dry cell weight, we use this formula. This formula will give us the dry cell weight in grams per liter. Now, let's move on to the next part, where we measure the absorbance of fermentation sample. This process is critical for monitoring cell growth during fermentation. Like in the first part, we begin by extracting a small portion of the fermentation broth by using a pipette tip. After sample extraction, we place the cuvette containing our sample into the spectrophotometer. Lastly, this process is repeated with the time interval shown above.